We are solid. Cool. Art's gonna verify everything's good on YouTube. Yeah.
So my nuts.
Yeah. Thanks, sir.
Mhm.
We're gonna get pizza, but you said you were good.
I'm not starving.
All right, we're good there. All right. Yeah. Um, should be page. Should be one of the posts. Okay. What's up, everybody? Manny V here, and we're in the shaping shack of Jimmy Linville. We're in Oceanside. We're not going to tell you where it's at because this is his home, his sacred place. But we're just he's gonna keep working, and we're just gonna shoot the shit, ask him a few questions, and have a beer while we're at it. Jimmy, thanks, brother, for taking the time. Did you get beer?
Yep, got one.
Oh yeah, okay. And we got Art over here. He's gonna be making sure
Hawaiian
that.
beer.
Yeah, cheers, you guys. So we're gonna be asking Jimmy.
On a big wave.
Yeah, Art's choice. And we'll just ask him questions along the way as he's working. And if you guys have any questions, Art's gonna be looking at the YouTube chat. And yeah, that's it. So keep powering away. I'm sure you can work and talk at the same time. Let's take a quick look at what he just got done doing. And you
These
can
are
tell us about
a
that.
couple custom orders here. So these are all custom specs for a customer, 43. He likes that old school BZ type of shape.
Yep.
Thick, probably gonna finish out 2.5 or thicker.
Okay.
So that's a specs, and then here's an extremely big custom.
Holy crap. I don't know. Can you
Yeah.
guys see that? Let's see.
Yeah. So everything's by request.
Okay. So all custom.
All custom. Everything's custom.
Okay.
There's very few boards just kind of made just for the heck of it, So
Okay.
if I make it, it sits on the shelf and somebody's gonna want a custom board anyways.
Yeah. And that's like almost 99% of your
Yeah, exactly.
for bodyboards, but because I see a bunch of little.
Oh yeah, and then we do stuff for a few surf shops, and we do carry some boards in the shop,
Okay.
But a lot of times when the waves are good and the weather's good, the boards run out. I just got to build more.
Let's start from the very beginning.
Yeah.
We were chatting a little bit before we got started. And Art, is everybody okay? If they can listen, give us a thumbs up in the live chat if you guys can hear and if you guys can see. Whoa, man, you look like 8 foot tall compared to me. How tall are you?
6'3".
6'3".
And a
I'm
half,
5'10". Take the half because I don't have it.
I would have thought you were 6 foot at least.
No, I'm 5'10". Look at this. Holy crap.
Oh, I can't even. Oh, I can see it right there. All I see was glare. Feel
it. All right, let's go back to the very beginning. We were chatting earlier. I feel like we're both on the same program, like Oceanside and IB, Imperial Beach, were like sister cities. Like everything you guys talked about in Oceanside, we had almost a duplicate. We had meth heads hanging out. We had skinheads hanging out. We had like the homies coming in from the
base is right next to you.
We had
you had everything.
It was
basically IB is a border town.
Yeah.
For the California.
Yeah.
We're the border town of
Orange
County, so north of us is Orange County. So yeah, it's kind of similar. And plus it was like the beach break town.
And also you alluded to the crew you were hanging out with, because the bodyboarders, we'd hang out with surfers, knee boarders, and we'd have guys that were shapers. Like we had Novak down there, we had Paulo Cabral from Marbella.
Oh yeah.
We had these surfboard shapers, and it was just cool to hear how they were manipulating the boards and designs and shapes of the surfboards. And we would think about it. All right, what would a bodyboard look like? And we talked about that a little bit here because you were hanging out with a bunch of.
Well, yeah, because I grew up, like I was saying before, Mike Lambresi. You know, he was a world champion on the tour, and he bodyboarded too. He either placed in contest bodyboarding too.
Yeah.
So all that was around here. A lot of guys shaping, which the original Maury Boogie factory was here. And I had a bunch of people growing up that worked in the factory. Like our buddy, my older friends, this guy Stevie was a kneeboarder. They were like, yeah, he built the laminator for there. So yeah, so I have all these stories of those guys working for Maury Boogie, making bodyboards, and here I'm a Grom.
Yeah.
Just listening to their stories, and they're not knowing. They just thought I was just a kid riding a boogie.
Yeah.
You know, but I sucked it all in.
Yeah.
So later on, now I build boards. I have all these memories or information stuck in my head of the history of when Maury started in this town.
Yeah.
They were building them in Carlsbad. Then they went to Mexico. And then all those guys says, yeah, we were working here. Well, they had to go to Mexico.
Yeah.
And work. So they spent maybe a year or more all commuting to go down there building bodyboards.
Yeah. And back then, I mean, I'm gonna turn it down a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But back then, it was a different crossing the border. You only needed an ID just to get across, and
It was so easy.
it was so easy. So
We used to go surf after work. We'd get off at 2. We'd get in the truck and we'd go to Mexico to surf.
yeah,
Like 4 to 5 days a week.
and it was so short. And one of the best waves was the closest wave, which was Baja Malibu.
Yep.
It was just a top to bottom barrel.
Oh, if you wanted to be in your wetsuit in an hour and a half from leaving the door now, it was Baja Malibu.
Yeah.
So you go straight there and you'd get a chance to surf evening session.
And that was just the tip of the top of Baja. There's just a whole coast.
Oh yeah, that was the easiest way ever.
All right, back to the manufacturing, because this is the epicenter of manufacturing bodyboards, you know, to scale. And when they moved to Mexico, a lot of the shapers were heading down there, but you also had to hire local people, right?
Yeah, so I know for a fact that they hired the guys that were running Maury here. They all went down there to work.
Yeah.
And eventually I think, like anywhere, they learned the ropes. And then Tom's contract was up, and then they slowly just got rid of everyone. But everyone was on the outs in it anyways, dude. That was like the starting of BZ, because Bobby Zabad and all, they were all working for Maury.
Yeah.
So once Bobby Zabad started BZ, there was already Scott Hawaii. So there was just all that experience of people making boards. They let Maury just kind of go. And then things started here.
Yeah.
Scott Hawaii, BZ, Custom X, Challenger Bodyboards, all these companies.
Custom X
360
was pretty much across the street from BZ.
Yeah.
And
they were all in the same industrial park.
yeah.
And you know what I mean?
I mean, it's just so crazy. It doesn't really hit me or hit anybody that this was the epicenter.
Well, it was. So as far as I know, you know, Tom invented the bodyboard in Hawaii, in Kona.
Yeah.
And he moved over here and brought the production over here.
Yeah.
And when it started booming and when he sold it off, that's when they went to Maury, or Maury went to Mexico. And then after a few years, all of a sudden there's this people that knew how to build boards all around. And that not to mention, it created a sport right then.
Yeah.
So then BZ came along when the sport was created and all that stuff.
Well, when BZ started right here, where were you in your life, bodyboarding wise?
So when BZ started, I remember the year BZ started.
Because you were here. This was your
so BZ started, and I was already going to the beach every day. I already had a couple Aussies.
How old were you?
I was probably about 11. Yeah, I was about 11. So I left to Northern California for a whole summer, and I came back, and there was a bodyboard in the garage.
Nice.
I was freaking out. I'm like, no way, it was a bonsai.
Yeah.
It was like an Aussie,
Yeah.
you know?
What were you doing up north?
Family relatives, spending the summer up there. It was a grommet.
Yeah.
Came home, I'll never forget it. Came home, there was a bodyboard in there. Took it to the beach maybe 3 times. It was horrible. It was an Aussie, couldn't ride it.
Yeah.
But I was right at the age where I knew what I had to ride away. The kneeboarder down the street got his kneeboarder dialed in. So he had a Maury 139. with skids.
Oh,
So then I'm like, oh, he let me borrow that thing. So I don't think I gave that thing back for like 2.5 summers. 2.5 summers I rode the thing. And by the time I gave it back, I already learned how to do a roll. El Rolo, right?
with skids.
With skids.
Yeah.
Never landed one because of skids. It was so hard.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was on the search. I needed a board.
Yeah.
I don't think I had a board for like a whole 2 summers.
Damn.
And then I finally.
You were just riding 139.
Okay, the question was about the BZ.
By the way, really quick, that was the air compressor behind Art over there.
Yeah.
That
Yep.
it's automatic.
We got
You get all this
working tools here.
Yeah.
So that was the summer of, okay, the summer of the BZ. That was all before then. So what happened? Really good friend of ours growing up, Joey Dietzman, which was the cousin of Bobby and Greg Zabad. He's like, my uncle just opened up the factory and he got a job there working at the BZ shop right when they opened up, like the first month, I think. Well, he had a Mach 7, like kind of brand new. He goes, I'll sell it to you for $80. I got my first slick bottom board. I was pumped.
Sick. Was
And
it
then-
the black bottom or
No, it was an orange bottom.
Okay.
It was a Killer 7. It was like the bullet one, you know what I mean?
Sick.
So then that was like, because I'll never forget that.
How old were you?
BZ factory opened. I was probably 13. Yeah, I think it was, yeah. So the summer before my freshman year is I got the slick bottom board.
Okay. How old were you? I mean, how old are you now?
Now I'm 54.
Okay, you're 1 year old.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So, yeah, I'll never forget that. That was the time when BZ opened up because Joey Dietzman sold me and he's like, well, I have a BZ board now because his uncle was like, you need to get rid of that board.
Oh.
I remember working in the skateboard factory riding the wrong trucks, and the owner's like, no, we're gonna break those trucks. You're not riding our truck.
Yeah.
You know, so like,
So you just got the board and then they hit you up with a BZ?
no. I just got a Mach 7, so I was a grommet and I had my first slick bottom board.
Okay.
That was the year Bobby Zabad opened up the
Got
BZ
it.
factory
Okay.
down there.
Okay.
And they made the BZs. They were like, they looked like a Mach 7.
Yeah.
I remember those.
What were the first BZs to
The
come?
BZs, they had a big round BZ on the front. It was all yellow. I think it might have had a red bottom and
Did it have the stripe
and
down the
right.
middle?
Nope, no,
Oh.
it didn't have a stripe. No,
Not yet.
it was just all yellow.
Damn. So it almost looked like a Mach 7
Yeah, but well, everything was knocked off a Mach 7 back
Yeah.
then.
because it was working.
Well, I imagine you bought a whole roll.
Yeah.
You know, there wasn't a bodyboard market to where they're like, we have 10 colors.
Yeah.
No, they bought a whole roll and you made as many boogie boards as you could out of one big roll. So,
When was your first time going into one of these places?
first time when I was probably 17. So the BZ factory was always in this town. It was kind of one of not the first bodyboard factory, but the first major factory like in the 90s. So a good friend of mine, Doreen Delicon, she was a team manager. She was working in the factory, running the team, and I think doing other stuff, office stuff.
Okay.
But she was like, we all grew up bodyboarding together. So she's like, hey, you want to come down and do a tour of the factory? I'm like, cool. I had already, I think, been in there a few times, but never did a tour.
Yeah.
Because all our friends we grew up with around town, they've always worked there.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them, almost family friends when we were young. So I always had an in, you know, sometimes you would go by there or someone needed to go pick something up and you go by there. So she gave me a tour of the factory and all I remember is seeing all the older guys I knew, like some guys that surf, like Yamo,
Yeah.
that worked for BZ forever.
Yeah.
He was working there then.
Was
You
he
know?
one of the first ones?
He wasn't one of the first ones, but he was around the eras where they had a couple of the first crews where BZ just started like really getting into mass production, where they had a day crew and a night crew.
Damn.
They were hiring people from the temporary agency. So now that they build the boards, I understand they probably would get these huge orders and then they got to bring people into work. And then they have like 3 or 4 layoffs a year. They keep getting these orders and then, you know, you need to hire people to build the boards. The
And
boards are all labor intense.
What is a huge order? Like how many boards is that? Thousands?
No, a huge order is not 1,000. A huge order is
Back then.
anywhere from like, you know, 50 to 250 boards.
Damn.
Like I would tell someone right now, like a big order is like, it's got to be over 100 boards.
Yeah.
Because if you buy in supplies, every color is going to supply 100 boards. So then all of a sudden you want a couple colors on your board. Well, you want 3 colors on your board, you need to be 300 boards worth of material.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing about the industry. It's really tough is like, it's kind of like building a house. You need a lot of stuff
Yeah.
and it's costly. So and anything when you're trying to do it in bulk and do manufacturing, there's a lot of cost to it.
Well, I mean, I'm looking around. I mean, how you got slick skins? I mean, you got some slick skins, you got some cores. Like how are you doing it?
How I do it?
Yeah.
So I just make sure the work comes in to cover everything. And
cost.
then if the work's not coming in, there's no money to be spent.
Yeah.
So everything's a budget.
Yeah.
It's epitome of like living the surfing dream. Like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I never had a dream on having my own company. Never ever dreamed of building my own board. Ever.
Yep.
But I've learned that I was employed by companies that build boards. My paycheck was earned by them selling boards to pay me.
Yeah.
And then when I decided to do it on my own,
It's a hustle.
I was like, I'm paying my rent, selling 2-3 boards every month, whether the ones I made or ones I was able to get.
Yeah.
And then eventually I'm like, cool, I'll just start my own thing and selling boards.
Well, so you bodyboarded.
Yeah, all my life. Yeah.
At what point did you say, okay, maybe I want to make my own boards, or I want to make a board?
Yeah, that started for me before I made bodyboards, I think. Well, because when I was able to get a custom board was first I was able to get boards through BZ. All these people I knew that worked at BZ, I was able to get a board always.
Yeah.
Then I was like, no, I hate those boards. I can't ride them. Because in the beginning of me getting boards, I always got boards from Maury. So when we were young, we both competed and we were kind of doing really good. So I was able to, from a young age, just Maury was giving me boards.
Yeah.
Because Maury was located here in Oceanside, one of the main offices. And Mary and all the other guys that worked for Maury that were running things, they all were local guys here. So I was always able to get a board. I was stoked.
Yeah.
And that kind of, and then when I do, so what happened is I became 6 foot something. And I couldn't ride the boards anymore.
Yeah. You brought up Mary. She ran the Maury team.
Yeah.
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 Mary
The
Lee
team.
Christensen.
Yep. And
Was it me or was she kind of hot back then? Because I remember I was like young and I like
all my older friends that grew up with her, they all went to school together. Yeah. So
yeah.
they were like, yeah, she's hot. But so that was the kind of a clique I grew up around. Like a lot of the guys that worked for Maury, they were all living around here. So as I grew up and got a little bit older, I realized like, well, that's the people I used to do all the contests with. They were running the contests. Next thing you know, I'm seeing them around town. And it's just a small world that I've been around this boogie thing before I was around the boogie thing.
Yeah.
You know, so to me, I have all these memories that are just only my memories that are about all these people that were running the bodyboard contests around here, running some of the factories. And I still run into older guys that I know around town that have stories of like, oh yeah, we worked at Maury. The craziest thing I remember growing up is in the 90s, you walk around this town, you see a BZ shirt almost anywhere you go, walking on the side of the road.
Yeah. Yeah.
The BZ employed a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were all right, bring me up to speed because I know BZ was by the airport up here in Oceanside and their building was huge.
Oh yeah.
You would go across the street and there was Custom X.
Yep.
And their building was I feel like it was a quarter of the size.
Oh yeah, it was.
At what point did just refresh my memory because I don't know, but BZ came up pretty much right after Maury got bought out and got corporate.
Yeah.
At what point did Custom X come into play?
I don't know. I want to say I forgot the years. Maybe it was it was in the 90s, the late 90s.
Because BZ came out or set up shop here around what year?
Oh, I want to say that was in the 80s. I forgot what year.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know, I'm bad on all the years.
Okay, but
No, but I remember
roughly an idea.
Yeah, so late 80s,
Okay.
and then BZ came around in the 90s,
Okay. Or custom X came out.
and then Custom X came out after BZ came out.
Yep.
Because but see, Debbie at Custom X worked for Scott Hawaii. Scott Hawaii. Oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Scott Hawaii was here, and across the street, Bobby had opened BZ across the street.
So Scott was here.
Scott Hawaii was in this town for a long time.
Yeah.
We were grommets, and they'd be like having team tryouts, and so we'd go like try to get on the team and stuff like that. But then so Debbie worked for Scott Hawaii, then she started Custom X, and then broke off, and then did custom boards for a while, and then
but Debbie was there from the Maury days too.
Yeah, so they all worked for Maury. All the clicks, all the BZ, Bobby's Abad, Debbie, all the employees, a lot of employees they had. I think JP might have too. So yeah, because that's right. Debbie worked with JP. They did Airwaves bodyboards too.
That's right. Airwaves.
I just seen JP. I should have asked him about it. He might have the stamps or something.
Okay.
I think I want him. I want to make an Airwaves board.
Have you seen the Airwaves board? How did they do the top deck? Because it was all multiple colors.
You got to melt them together.
So
yeah, so you can do all that on a bodyboard. You know, you're not making a quality board. That's for sure. If you want to do that to your board,
because
you're getting rid of some quality. That's like
why?
let's cut a hole in your roof in your car, then we'll tape it back together.
Okay,
that's the same.
So you're losing the integrity, the strength.
You might get leak.
Okay.
So the typical,
what did they
you know, everyone's got to understand when you build a bodyboard, all these things are trying to make the board waterproof. And because the core, and it's almost impossible to make it waterproof. Water's going to get in. There is a way to make it waterproof, but there's going to be more work involved. There's going to be more technique. There's everything. So when it comes to building a board, you got to make sure it's all watertight. Now, the way manufacturing for bodyboarding is now, everybody's looking to make a profit. They need to make them quick, so they're going to cut corners. You know, so you're going to add things on the boards that might not make the board last too long. But there are things that, like a lot of guys have bumpers on the boards.
Yeah,
they help for bumping, but I've seen it. They let water in a lot of times.
How? I mean, you would think.
Well, because a lot of times if I seal this up and I heat it, I can heat it to where it seals so good and get it super hard and
with one layer,
make it melt. Yeah, on there really good. You could do that with a bumper too, but some of them aren't. Some of the materials are different. So, like for instance, a polypropylene board. Polypropylene has like 3 different types of materials. You're trying to laminate them all together, and a lot of times you see in the polypro boards, they delam, they peel apart, they fail. So once the glue fails, that helps you hold all that together. Then that's when you have issues when the board delams or they waterlog. Then you get a polyethylene board. So like this is a polyethylene board. The skin's made out of polyethylene, the core's made out of polyethylene, the deck skin's made out of polyethylene. Once I melt these things together, you're not going to tear them apart. They're going to be one with each other. And then I can make it to where it can stick to the slick skin and be 100% waterproof.
So is that what you want? You want every material to be the same to make it watertight? Yeah, you necessarily don't want it it depends on the kind of quality you're looking for. So if the most epic quality board together, what would that look like? The most epic quality, long-lasting board would be 100% polyethylene board. And that's because all the materials will heat together and never fall apart. A lot of the boards are made with Surlyn bottom. So Surlyn, you can stick the rail to the Surlyn, but most likely it's sticking to the backing of the Surlyn, which is the foam layer on there, which makes it stick to the core. But with the right heat and the right pressure, you can still get it to stick to the Surlyn. But we all seen it on a lot of the Surlyn boards. You take your fingernail and you can just peel it back so easy. Yeah. So once okay, you peeled that back, but now you got the foam backing there. It's still stuck there, so it's keeping water out. But over time,
water can seep in. So like get a brand new sponge and take it out of the package and you put it in the sink and you take it out and it's still dry, right? Put it in the sink and squeeze it and all of a sudden water gets in it. So when you're duck diving and you don't have a leash and you squeeze the board really hard and you're breaking some of these cells, it's probably letting some water in.
It's gonna
You know
want
what I
to
mean?
suck
Yeah,
it in.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but if you use an all PE core, how do you make it stiff? Because PE is like,
Well, there's different ways to make it stiff. I can't give away all the secrets on how to make a good PE board,
yeah,
but PE has a bad reputation.
yeah,
I'll tell you right now, PE is the highest quality foam you can get for a bodyboard. You can leave it in the sun and it's not going to delam. A polypro, yeah, you don't want to leave it in the sun. You get bad reverse rocker and it'll delam. So the highest quality foam would be a PE core, but there's different ways to make a PE board to make it quality, such as there's multiple different kind of bottom skins. Some are denser, some are lighter, some are stiffer, some are flexier. And then you have different types of stringers to put in the boards.
so it's
Different placements of the stringers.
So it's like a puzzle.
It is like a puzzle. Like I said it once before, you are the best expert at your own board on what you need in your board. And if you don't know that, the most important for riding a wave and surfing is figuring that out.
Yep.
Once you've figured out what you need in a board, and you're like 100%, no, this is what I ride. I only ride this. Now you're an expert at riding a wave at your standard. And people don't understand. There's like multiple levels of riding. You know, there's obviously the top level, the pros. Then there's obviously all the really good guys that ride. And then you got the guys that want to get up to par. A lot of it comes with your equipment. But then everyone knows a really good rider, it doesn't come to his equipment because he's so good, he can adapt his riding style to the equipment.
Yeah.
So there's different ways to look at how to fit a board into somebody.
Yeah.
Not to mention the quality of the board. Yeah. Okay. I'm talking too much. Let me drink a beer.
Yeah. Beer break. How we doing over here, Art? All right.
I can go on and on about designs and fitting you, like tailoring you to the board.
That's a whole episode.
It's an array of things. And I don't even know the answer to everything until the question's asked.
Yeah. And those questions are asked because I'm that bodyboarder here that wants to get here, but I need to know what the materials are doing when I'm riding. Like, is it too flexible? Okay, why is it flexible? Is it too stiff? Why is it stiff?
I'll tell you a perfect example. So I make a lot of boards for Ben Severson, make his custom boards. Okay. So I just make whatever he wants. So one day he's like, hey, we need some 40-inch boards, single stringer or double stringer polypro boards, 40-inch boards. And he goes, dude, the boards I gave the grommets, he goes, I was at Sandy's the other day. He goes, I just see these kids are like getting pitched. They can't make the drop. And he goes, well, they're small boards. Like, I go, Ben, they're too stiff. He goes, do you think? I go, bro, I know. He goes, well, I go, listen, we'll make some Dalcor boards, maybe some polypros, no stringers, and then hook the kids up. And then he goes, bro, the kids are like scooping in the barrel now.
Yeah.
Another Sandy local, I made him a board. He told me what he wanted, double stringer. He's like, even if I get in early, he's like, I'm in the air. I go, here, we'll make another one, no stringer.
Yeah.
Boom, spot on. The board works perfect and no slabs. So sometimes we've all over made the boards.
Yeah.
There was a time when the foam was so bad. We're like, whoa, we got stringers now. We got mesh. We're just going to put it all in.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, the boards were just way too stiff.
Yeah. I mean, we grew up in a time where there was no stringers, there was no mesh, there was nothing. But you know what I learned from all that is we learned how to scoop. And I didn't realize that we grew up with that flexibility and the pop that we used to get until I try to take photos of the professionals
Oh yeah.
in the shore break on their boards. And I'm like, nobody was scooping. Nobody understood what scooping was. I'm like, I'm here to the wall. All you got to do is scoop and get in the barrel and I'll be there. And they couldn't do it.
No.
They could not get that board to function like we are used to doing it.
Well, I remember, Billy, right? I remember Billy's like, get the water housing. And he's like, I'm like, Billy, it kind of sucks. He goes, I'm just gonna jump in the barrel and you get it right.
Yeah, but
and I go, you're gonna hurt yourself.
Yeah. But we can do it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We can get into the barrel because we know it.
Yeah.
And that totally makes sense, is like understanding what the materials do.
Yeah, and there's a lot of guys I make boards for that want that old school board.
Yeah.
But some of them don't even know it.
How to get there.
No, they don't even so they get on a board now and they think it's just them. They think like, fuck, I'm out of shape. No, bro. When the waves are good, your muscle memory will kick in.
Yeah.
All of us have it.
Yeah.
Your lungs might not, but your muscle memory kicks in. So it comes down to the equipment. When you already know how to ride a wave and you've done it all, everything has to work with like power steering, I say. A board that's too stiff is like a car with no power steering fluid. Then a board that just has the right amount of flex and you can turn whenever you think about it without leaning on your hip, that's like you have enough power steering fluid in your steering. So
ideally, like if you really want to know what works and what doesn't work, if you can afford it, get a freaking Poly Pro with one stringer, get a PE with one stringer, take them out, or no stringers. Like just get a PE board and a PP board, a polypropylene, a polyethylene, same shape, same everything. Go out there and see the difference, and then start from there.
Well, there's a lot of guys that already do that. There's guys that have the equipment.
Yeah.
There's guys that have polypro board for when they go surf tropical weather. Then there's guys that have PE core boards when they surf Northern California or colder water. But then at the same time, there's guys that you can make a PE board that just works in everything. So I had one customer a long time ago. I made him a polypro board. The waves are really good this day. And came in the shop when I'm working up by the beach. Dude, his board had a big old bubble in it. I'm like, oh shit, the waves are firing. And I'm like, I felt so bad because the waves are good.
Damn.
Every day you wish the waves are good. Well, that day it was good.
Oh.
I go, here, fucking take my board. And I'll just come back in a couple of days. He came back in like 3 hours. He goes, I don't know what's the difference between my board and your board, but he goes, my board working so good for him. Well,
Your board.
Yeah, the difference is like he was riding a polypro board. So the guy was a good drop mirror. The polypro board, it was kind of sectiony fast. So the polypro board, he would get up and he would shoot to the bottom, right? Because the board's super stiff. It likes to chatter when it's really stiff. And it doesn't want to set the rail until you kind of got up to speed. Well, he's like, man, that's the way that board, my board, he said he would take off and he can do like a half a face turn before he got total control. Then he can do like a high line pump and do another face turn and stay up high and then drop to the bottom and do his bottom turn. The polypro board couldn't do that because the polypro board didn't have a torsion flex like this. The polypro was so stiff that it only has, when you pull on this rail, the whole entire board turns. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have like a twisty flex.
Yeah.
So the next board he ordered was a PE core board. And we do these things in it to make them almost stiffer than the polypro boards, especially for DK riders.
Yeah.
So like a DK rider, you got to figure out where you want to place a stringer to work the best.
Yeah.
You can't put it right on your knee. You'll ding your knee up. I don't know. I've had that issue before.
Oh, damn.
I got an elbow bruise because I'm like, oh, put the stringer right under the elbow. Well, no, it freaking hit the stringer. You know what I mean?
All right, let's
So,
start.
so there's all kinds of weird things.
Oh, so you already knew you wanted to get into shaping as you were bodyboarding. When did that happen? At what point did you get into a place where you can like put your hands on
It was
going
at
from,
BZ. I got my first job was at BZ.
okay. When was that? How old were you?
So I was 19. So I was
Dang.
so I was 19, and this is a story you're gonna relate to. First week of me being in there, I'm like, I told Greg Zaba, I go like, Greg, I want to make a board. He goes, really?
First week.
First week. Well, because Greg worked in there. A lot of my other friends worked in there. A lot of friends that I made friends for the rest of my life worked there, and I met them that week. So Greg's like, cool. You can make a board. I go, well, I want to use one of those boards. So it was a pearl bottom. It was an ATAC board.
Yeah.
Remember the ATACs?
Seamus McCardle.
Yeah. So it was an ATAC, like a cheaper one. But I go, I'm just going to cut that board and cut the board out of that board. And I was making it for Russ Bowler. Remember Russ?
Yeah.
So Russ rode this board like 19 inches wide.
No way.
I'm like, I'll make Russ a board out of that. Frick, Russ rode that board for a couple years. Russ
was
rode
that your first board?
That was the first board I made for someone. And Russ rode that board for a few years up until I was able to make him another one years after. That's when I started working with
But
custom.
straight from the blank this time.
Yeah. But so that was the first board I ever made. And that was when I first started working at BZ. So I was pumped.
Yeah.
I was really pumped. And
Right.
Russ was pumped because he got a free board. You know?
What was it like when you finally went in there and like, you got, what was that first day like when you walked in there and you're like, oh shit,
Well, there is kind
were you
of
sweeping the floors first?
no. So what happened? That's right. We go in there. So we go in there and all the lights are out in the factory. And then we sit down by like the office lunch area. So we get all briefed that
Every morning.
no. This is the first day we
First day.
work. So we show up and we're getting briefed with all these people that were there hired from the temporary agency.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
You know,
Damn. So they're going to lose their job.
they're all going to lose their job.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're only going to be there for a month or 3 months, or whatever. But it was temporary agency work. And then, so everywhere from like, anyone you've seen in the hood was working there. You know what I mean? Women, guys, Crips,
Yeah.
Vatos. We were all working there. And it was a cool environment. It was the 90s, you know what I mean? And then eventually, I didn't see it till later. BZ, their production for building boogie boards by hiring these people from the temporary agency or temporary people, we're pulling people out of those that ended up working for BZ for years. Because if you got good at making a board, they're going to want to keep you in the production. And the production was so good to where they always had a crew of like 15 guys or more.
Always.
Always.
That was like,
Yeah.
there was always 15 people on the floor.
There was always people there. And at one time there was a day crew and a night crew, 24-hour crew. So yeah, it was booming. They were making a lot of bodyboards. And then, and then eventually Custom X, I heard they were hiring. So pretty much anyone that had a bodyboard experience that got applied there at the time they needed people, they got hired.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Were you a part of that first wave of people going over?
I was.
Okay.
And then, and then it was known, to where the bosses at BZ weren't happy. So they had talks and back and forth. And then it was classic because for years after that, us working there and being across the street, like we both took lunch breaks at the same time. So the workers are coming over here, going over there,
Yeah.
having lunch together or whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there any like crazy animosity between Debbie and Bobby?
No, Bobby was out of it then, I think.
Oh, okay.
Maybe Bobby was involved a little bit, but we never saw Bobby when we worked there too much. So Yeah, but Debbie kind of took the reins, and Custom X was kind of a big thing then.
Yeah.
You know what I
It
mean?
came out hard, came out strong.
Not to mention if you compare to manufacturing now, like probably like a Mach 7 at Maury probably cost $5 to $11 a make. You know, then the times when BZ was making boards, it probably cost $15 to make a board. So they would order materials, so much materials, you'd have so much foam. And the board making was kind of easy, you know what I mean? That they use a certain materials that made the production go really good. So those are the years of like they had to the manufacturing wired.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a major breakthrough for building bodyboards.
And so when Debbie was at Scott, she took everything she learned from Maury and Scott and started Custom X. Like what she built was a finely tuned machine because she got some of the best guys over at
Oh yeah,
Steve.
that's what it was. Well, you know, because Mike Fleming was working. Remember X-Man?
Yeah.
So he worked at BZ. Then he went to Custom X, and he was running the production with us.
Okay.
And it was cool. Those are some of the funnest times ever working in those factories.
What made it fun?
Just because it was a good crew. We had a lot of motivation. You know what I mean? Mike managed the crew, and he kind of let the company let everyone know that, you know, the crew does good and everyone needs to be rewarded. Whether they bought us lunch or we'd have company parties or like I got free boards. Even I think Mike got Debbie to pay for one of the contests for me, like a PSAA contest.
Wow, no way.
Yeah.
And those were what, $150 at the time?
I guess. I don't know what it was. And then
so what
even getting you know, dialed in at the surf shop, you know, because when you're selling to the shops, you got some pull.
Yeah.
You know, so
X-Man came in and it's like, hey, friggin', let's recognize these people's artwork because it was,
yeah, well, because you know it's labor intense building the boards.
yeah.
But Mike was good at building them. He learned from BZ, and then we all just kind of learned off that. And so it was like him, PMA. They both worked at BZ, and then when they started working at Custom X, they hired a bunch of other people, and those guys just built the production to where I think honestly they think they already had the boards being sold, so all we had to do was just build them.
Damn.
It wasn't like a lot of companies. The foam was so cheap, a lot of companies would just build the boards and then try to sell the boards.
Oh, damn.
Which is well, you rode for Town and Country,
yeah,
right? That's what they did. You remember just seeing stacks of boards, right?
Yep.
So I wouldn't be the one on the hook that needs to sell the board.
Exactly.
Now if we look back, right, you're
I
like,
know.
somebody was on the hook to sell the board.
All right. Well, I hope whoever was a salesman for Town and Country sold my boards because that's what they were doing. Holy crap.
Well, you know, I don't know. A lot of people don't understand that there's not a lot of bodyboard manufacturers. Everyone's piggybacking on each other.
Yeah.
Everywhere from Town and Country back then or Maury till now. But in the beginning, Maury, BZ, Scott, Hawaii, Tubes, Challenger, Wave Rebel, they were all their own manufacturing.
Yeah.
Nobody was building boards for none of them. No way.
Custom X would
You
build
would
Custom X.
no.
BZ would
You wouldn't build their boards back then. You'd be like, no way, bro.
Yeah.
You don't sell them at my shop. I'm selling them, and
yep,
this is our territory.
Yep.
So
And
that was a rule of thumb. It was an unspoken rule.
And because of that, there was this kind of like a secrecy, like nobody from BZ would go into the Custom X office.
No.
And somebody from Custom X wouldn't be allowed to go into
I saw it play out. I've seen stuff play out. It was a phone call. It was a meeting you set up.
Yeah.
Might even have been a lunch somewhere.
I remember seeing that and I was like, really? You guys are all building the same shit. Like, why are you? But gosh, I think it was.
I'll tell you when they did have meetings, when somebody set up like an office room and they're like, oh, we get to use it now. Well, we're going to have the meeting there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was, that makes sense now. Why, like, I never understood that. But
But
that makes it, now I understand. Custom X made Custom X. BZ made BZ.
but in those days, I'll tell you what is a big difference between now. You could be a block away and you see a guy holding the board, you knew exactly what kind of board that was.
Yeah.
They had they had their own shapes.
Yeah.
So I don't know how everyone came up with their own shapes, but somebody might have drew the curve and they're like, that's our shape.
Yeah.
So, there's a Ben shape, there's a Jackie Booter shape, there's a Kainoa McGee shape. Everyone was different. None of them were the same.
Yeah. Which was amazing because then you had a demand for that shape.
Oh, it's still to this day.
Yeah.
There's specific shapes that people are looking for that you can't find out there. You know what I mean?
How much time did you spend at BC? How much time did you spend at Custom X? And at what point did you say, all right, I'm gonna do my
I think at BZ I worked there for 4 months, maybe a little more.
okay.
Custom X, I worked there and with Custom X for 15 years.
Shit. What do you
Yeah.
mean with?
So when I wasn't working there, I was still working with them. So when I started JL,
Got it.
I was still working with them.
Okay.
When I got let go, I got begged to come back. So there's all, there's a lot of history with Custom X.
Yeah.
And pretty much I would call Custom X was at one time like my sister company, you know what I mean? Because everything they did, I learned from them, from working in their factory. And everything that they have going in their factory was probably something I did to help them, whether it be tooling or board design or whatever. So
let's pull out one of the tools that you brought to the table. Do you have something like that or laying around?
Oh, well,
because we can
so I just talked to this
whole thing on
I
just
just talked to someone about this. So
can you see it in the
I'm very fortunate to have had history around bodyboard manufacturing, whether it be guys I was surfing with or friends. So when I quit working at Custom X one year, there were no stringers in the boards. And then we were surfing our asses off. We were building boards in the garage with my buddy Kita Element bodyboards.
Yep.
And then we saw the video, like a Farrell Hansberger, like reaming his board out. And I'm like, wow, he's putting a stringer in there. So I went in the garage and I'm like, oh, we're going to put stringer in the board. I go, well, I missed. So it came through the board. We ruined that board.
Oh.
Then we're like, fuck, we don't want to ruin some boards. What are we going to do? I go, we're going to do it very careful. Then we got stringer in the board. And we're like, cool, we're going to give it to this guy, have him write it. Jason Wilkerson.
Oh, yeah.
We'll give it to Jason. He wrote it and he liked it. So then all of a sudden, Custom X is like, hey, we need you to come back. They go back there and they're like, they're like plugging the stringer hole, right? Because now they're putting stringers in the boards. This is when everyone just started doing stringers. But they're like trying to patch it with a little piece of foam. And I'm like, wait a minute. Let's just I got this metal conduit. We'll just do it with that. And it pops out this thing, And then so we just plugged the hole.
Damn.
But there were guys like shaping the foam and sticking it. I go, that's taking way too long. And then it comes out like then I started working with Brian at Vortex.
Yep.
Oh yeah, so I worked at all these freaking places. I worked with Brian too, right?
Yeah.
And I go, Brian, he had something like this, but it wasn't working. And I'm like, hey, I got this bit, and I shove it in there and I clamp it down like that. And I came in the next day. And he goes, look, I made it. I'm like, killer, that came out better than mine. And then and then I don't know, 15, 20 years later, Brian's like, hey, here, take all my shaping stuff. So this is the one Brian made from Vortex.
Let me see this thing. Piece of history. Yeah. So this is Brian Peterson's stringer hole and foam extractor. So this is what you put into the hole.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
Yeah.
I use this thing every day.
Where is he?
He's around. Brian's around town, yeah.
Shit.
He still works.
For a while, right? Board work?
Yeah. But yeah, so there's like, I'm kind of fortunate that I have had my foot in the door with a lot of these guys that been in the bodyboard making and in soft surfboard making, because shoot, then I ended up getting their stuff. whether it be foam or material or
Yeah.
old equipment or historical bodyboarding stuff. Like, for instance, this Churchill banner.
Oh, I don't know if you can see the banner.
Like, so this
Second.
Churchill banner, that Churchill banner is total historical. Like that came from the Maury days. That might have been hanging up at a contest or something when we were at Providence or something.
Yeah. So, like 40 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
How long you been here in this shack?
I
Shit,
think we're like 16 years at this spot. Yeah.
And it's all you need.
It's working out. It's all we need.
So if you guys want to get your own custom JL board made,
Come by.
how do they find you? How do they get?
A lot of guys contact me on social media,
Okay.
Facebook, Instagram,
Okay.
or they call direct. You can always order on ebodyboarding.com.
Okay.
You can order direct on their website. If you choose to pay a credit card, that's the best way to pay.
Okay. And they ship
They ship anywhere. Yep.
ebodyboarding.com.
E-bodyboarding is really good.
Perfect.
They'll get you what you need. The
Awesome.
killer thing about e-bodyboarding is, I've heard it, you probably heard it from people in Mexico, one-stop shop. You can't go to Mexico and buy surf gear.
Yeah.
But if you can find an online place that will get it there, buy everything you need from them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what we've seen in like in the from we were young, we'd call now the future.
Yep.
We didn't think we wouldn't be able to get the same stuff we used to ride.
Yeah.
We've always thought those boards would be there. Now those companies don't even exist. Like, but there's so much history that's kind of lost with all that.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we're doing what we're
Yeah,
doing
this is
here.
killer. Every something needs to be documented.
Yeah.
Like this is the original template they used to make the Jackie Booter board with.
Jackie Booter.
The Burks. So
Jackie Booter or Chris Burkhart? Is that
Burkhart. Yeah. Oh, it's a Burkhart.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is sick. Yeah, because Burks rode for Town and
Oh, it was
Country.
Burks. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we have a Jackie Booter too somewhere.
What's this hole?
But so
You guys
oh,
see
this is the router bit I made. But they used to put this on the core. Then they have a block with a knife. They cut the board out with this with a knife. So they put it up on the stand like that, and they clamp it down, and then
and they put the foam blank on
put
it.
the foam link on it, and then they run the knife along the edge and cut it out.
Can we see one of those knives? Do you have one?
No, I don't have it the way they did it.
What are those? I just want to show those things.
Oh, these are chine blocks. These are what cut the rails.
Show those guys.
Yeah, those are cut the rails.
And everybody uses these?
No.
Oh. We're showing a secret that
Yeah.
we should. Oh shit. Okay. You guys didn't see that last 2 minutes.
If you're smart, you know what they are.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go back and probably erase that section.
No, you don't have to.
Right on. Well,
Yeah, I'll show you a little bit of.
yeah. Let's see if we can get that. Yeah. So we're gonna get the GoPro and film it, and then show you guys later. What are you gonna show us?
I'll just finish this board up.
Oh yeah.
We can keep wrapping out.
Don't cut art. All right, watch out. That shit looks sharp.
One of those fishing knives.
Is it? Why do you have the glove on?
Because I'm going to use it.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
Talk us through.
So this glove is it's a kiln glove, so it doesn't, so I don't burn my hand.
so we can see it in the.
Everything's heated together. So that's the thing. If it doesn't seal to the slick skin, it's not watertight. So you always want to make sure it's all heated together.
I mean, you're holding a very sharp knife and a heat gun that is about 1,000 degrees.
No, it's
Oh, it's digital.
it says 840, but I'm not sure what it is. I think it's probably about 350.
So you just tested the heat by putting it to your neck.
Yeah, but not that close.
So again, you just want to seal up that core.
So this is wrapping everything around. So, you know, in the beginning days, a lot of the bodyboards had a top rail on it.
I dig it.
And that's what I did. I just wrapped it all around.
Nice. There we go. You're making it look so easy. This
It's not
is
that
what-
hard.
This is what 35, 40 years of. So
Yeah.
what happens to these guys right here? There's
Oh yeah, they get cut off later. So it gets a rail on it, and then there's a finish work that gets put on a wet glove. So you wrap it all up like that.
We've heard a lot about the wet glove.
So you're wet gloving.
So a lot of that wet gloving, there's always wet gloving on a bodyboard.
Okay.
So it's the only way to smooth out the foam when you heat it up, you know? And not so it doesn't stick to anything.
All right. I'm gonna look over here and see what we got. Thanks for posting that. So we got results times 13. Chris says thanks JL Boards for bajo recursos.
Oh, Caesar.
Yeah, Caesar.
Caesar's on there?
No, Chris is a good friend,
Oh, cool.
but we're definitely gonna send this to Caesar. He'll be stoked. So you made boards for Caesar's.
Yeah, for Baja,
Yeah.
for BR. So yeah, I like Caesar. Caesar's a campo.
Yeah. Awesome.
He said he wants some boards, so I'm like, are we going to Mazatlan?
There's a pretty amazing crew of bodyboarders out of Mazatlan.
Yeah, I've been to Mazatlan,
Yeah.
but I've been there the old days. Now there's a road that you can drive out of town now, right?
Crazy.
The
Yeah.
waves are good over.
Yeah.
We were flying out of there one time. I'm like, holy crap! There's like Sand Points, the river mouth.
Yep. I think it was Mazatlan. They took me to this I think it was like a thermal power plant.
Oh, thermos?
Thermos.
You went there, huh?
Yeah.
Like a slab, huh?
Well, where they took, I don't think it was breaking, so we went to the river mouth and
Oh,
water's flowing out and we rode a stationary wave.
oh, nice.
Yeah, I don't think it was breaking, so he took me there and I'm like, should we be here?
The waves are so good down there,
I
huh?
know.
Fucking
Yeah.
air.
They
You
got
know?
a little hidden gem down there.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, shit. I think we got enough. You guys, thanks for hanging
that it?
out. Yeah. Well, I mean, you're right here. It didn't
Yeah.
take too long to drive up here. And we can do another one. I would really love to, like, the next show, just take us through one whole board.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be sick.
Yeah.
Because we haven't done that yet. And then I'm gonna get a camera where I can like follow you, kind of like what Art's doing, but
Yeah.
have it stream live. I know it's out there. The GoPro can do it. So the next time we come up, whenever you have time, we'll do that. But for now, I just wanted to, shoot the shit and get some like
Cool.
history
Yeah.
documented.
That's cool.
Yeah. So cheers to that.
That's cool.
If you guys have any questions after this is uploaded and after the air compressor shuts down,
I know. You think it sounds loud?
nah, the mics are really good.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, if you guys have any questions for Jimmy next time we come up here, or just send it over. You know where to get a hold of us. Right on, bro. Are you done?
Finished it.
Damn. All right. Well,
I don't want to open another one if you're leaving.
no, we'll have one more. We'll have one more. I mean, what time do you clock out? Because it's already 6 o'clock.
Clock out.
Oh,
Clock out.
cheers.
I haven't clocked in since Custom X.
Perfect. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Cheers. Art, thanks for filming the cameras. Again, if you guys have any questions, one last look. Mahalos from Morocco, Jimmy. There's the camera right there.
I keep forgetting the camera's here.
Yeah, it's right there. Ryan Stover says, what's up? We
What
got
up?
Craig, good show, and Jordan. Oh yeah, Jordan's board. Right over here. We'll show him.
Oh yeah.
It's ready to go. I'm supposed to take it.
Yeah, it's been sitting here.
Yeah.
I gotta hide it from people because
This thing is
they'll
legit.
be like, is that for sale? I go, no.
If
it's
you're
not for
coming
sale."
to Cabo Freak Fest,
Snagged it.
Ben Severson and Pat Codwell will be joining us, and Ben Severson agreed to have some boards made for the trip. But man, this thing is, where are you? Look at that. Oh my God.
That's nice.
Sorry, Jordan.
Black and white.
I may have to take this out for a spin. Rounded rails.
It's getting dirty because it's white.
So yeah, we'll definitely put this in the car. I'm gonna put it over here so I don't forget.
Yeah, don't forget it.
So Jordan, that's coming to you. And right on. Thanks, brother. Where's my beer?
Here.
Yeah, it's almost done.
Oh, you're done.
All right. We're just gonna keep it rolling, but we're done with the questions. We're done with everything.
Oh yeah. Here, I can work on the board.
Or do you guys want him to work on a board? I mean, do you guys have anywhere to go? We'll just keep it rolling. And that's it. All right.
Here, I'll work on the board like I normally do.
Sounds good.
I'm gonna set something up to kind of help me here.
So what's the turnaround on a board?
Custom boards, depends on
Stuff.
if I don't mess up, depends on if you're not in a rush. It's average 2 to 3 weeks,
Okay.
I try to do every order in 2 weeks, but it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah.
But there's always I'm leaving on a surf trip on Monday.
Yeah.
You'll
Yeah.
get your board tomorrow.
So we talked about that too, where working for yourself, there's like, you have timelines, you have deadlines, but in the end, you're doing this for you. So you can escape for a day or two.
Well, I've always wanted to build boards so I can surf every day of my life and have my own schedule. You know what I mean? It wasn't always about making money.
Yeah. So bodyboarding is obviously a priority, but I know you like to fish.
Yeah. So anything that the ocean provides is what I do.
Okay.
So provides waves, which we need boards to ride waves, and then fishing. I love fishing. So if the fishing's good, I have to prioritize and go out there and go fishing.
Yeah.
Fishing is much like surfing. There's only opportunities. That's about it. So if you can take advantage of those opportunities, you'll be a lot happier person.
What about, I mean, how do you know when the fish is biting? Because you're here, you're inside this place. You have friends that'll
Yeah, word of mouth, just like surfing. When the waves are good, you might get a phone call if you're the right guy,
Yeah.
right?
They're not gonna call anybody.
If the waves are good, you better hope they call you.
Yeah. What are you making right now? What are these little,
So these are little mini boards.
and who's buying them up and what are they used for?
Body surfing, little kids love them.
Okay.
We do a lot of work for other companies, making numerous types of boards. Well, I'll tell you what, these are the little boards we started manufacturing for a company and everybody copied them.
Yeah. Were you the first one to make these? little-
Yeah, we were the first ones to make these.
When you say we,
The company that I work with these,
okay.
yeah, so
Are you allowed to say the name?
no,
Okay,
but
that's fine. But you guys made it first and now everybody's jumped on board.
yeah, it's a little hot item,
Heck yeah.
That's the but if you want to get into this stuff and you can't manufacture stuff, then it's really tough.
Yeah.
Because everything, it's a high cost,
So you have JL custom body boards, but you also are building boards for other companies to pay the bills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in
And that's the reason for the 2-week turnaround. It's to give you a little bit of buffer.
yeah. Well, no, a 2-week turnaround is basically if I didn't have any work at all, it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
But if you ordered a board today, well, I have 2 weeks of orders before you're born.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so
Okay. That's good though. Good for you.
but if in a sense it makes sense because everything's handmade
Yeah. The piece of
and
art.
everything starts out looks like this. So how do you turn that into a bodyboard? That's a but that's a cool thing too, you know, like anything you build from scratch is cool.
What in your, what is, what am I trying to say here? Who is your favorite customer? What are they? Is it somebody who knows exactly what they want, or is it somebody that wants you to build them a board according to what they describe, how they ride and where they ride?
A little bit of both. I would say a little bit of both. I wouldn't say I don't have a favorite customer,
Oh, sorry, Art.
you know.
How many boards have you got from them?
You didn't let me finish.
Okay.
Two packs lately? Getting stringer?
Hold on.
Hey,
I talked about ordering
you know
one
what?
with a stringer and one without a stringer. I've ordered 2 polypro boards from them, one with a stringer, one without a stringer with just mesh.
Yeah.
And you get that flex you get from like a PE board.
Yeah. Oh, crap.
Well, the thing, okay, you just helped me answer my question.
Yeah.
What he just said is my favorite kind of customer. Because I could tell him what he needs, and he's already telling me he already knows what he needs.
Nice. So a little bit of
Like-
both.
like
Like yourself.
He can go in a surf shop and go, oh yeah, all those boards are cool, but he wouldn't ride one.
Yeah.
Because he already knows what he wants. He wants that board a little thicker. He wants to have some flex.
Yeah.
He's already had boards that he doesn't ride that are still brand new.
Dreams of giving, you know, like to make them. It's still brand new. Like, can you make a template from it? Yep.
Well, you can get really messed, you know, because you've got all different boards from all these years. You can really mess your surfing up by trying to ride so many different kinds of boards. Like if you're trying to find where you sit in your riding style and the type of riding, and you're struggling on that, a lot of time it's not in getting a bunch of boards. There's a few simple things that can solve that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it always goes back to the beginning of the Mach 7. So rip apart the Mach 7, the dimensions of it,
Mhm.
and remember how that worked for you, or the Mach 10, and then you put those into a custom board.
So almost every board you're riding is a step towards that magic board, that
Yeah.
magic shape.
If you're documenting everything in your head, if you're really understanding what works in that board for you. But then I always tell people a lot of times, like, for instance, like a Dalcor board. So like a guy's, you know, he's 6 foot something. He says he dropped and he's really good. He's having struggle riding a lot of these boards because they're probably too thin, too stiff. Make him a double stringer Dalcor, and I go, listen, don't expect this board to ride good in really crappy waves. But when you go out tomorrow and if it's windy and it's like 3 foot, a couple good lefts, don't expect it to ride good. But when the waves are firing, the best day of the year, the board's going to ride phenomenal, like you wouldn't believe. You're going to freak out.
Yeah.
If you ever get it that good, when the waves are that good. And a guy came back and he's like, he couldn't believe how good the board worked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it all depends on how what you apply yourself at, like the condition of the waves, where you're surfing, the kind of waves. Because you know, there's so many types of good waves.
Yeah.
And there's only a handful of ways to ride them. You know what I mean?
And I mean, I have a ton of friends where surf friends, they have a quiver 30 boards deep. I'm like, and I can point to a board. I'm like, okay, when are you going to use this board? And
Yeah.
they'll say, okay, I'm going to use that board at this break when the water temperature is this warm or cold. And if it's glassy or if it's choppy, and they break it all down. And I think a lot of people don't understand that the bodyboard is the same thing. Like you can have, here's a perfect example, which I regret. And I wish I had a PE board with no stringers. So I fell in love and moved to Philadelphia. I fell in love, moved to Philadelphia, and it was there in the winter. And the swell forecast was this beach is going to be firing.
Oh yeah.
And I got there, and you know me, I freaking every board I have, I give it away.
Yep.
And I'm in Philadelphia, or yeah, Philly, New Jersey is the closest coast, and the waves are firing. I had to borrow a board. The only board I can get my hands on, Arcel.
Oh shit.
The water temp is in the low.
It was hard to ride.
I felt like I was riding a freaking piece of 4-inch plywood,
Yep.
and I couldn't scoop into these freaking top to bottom
Yeah.
barrels. I struggled so hard. I was able to finally get a couple waves under my belt, like perfect.
Yeah.
Top to bottom, 5-foot barreling offshore, perfect waves. But the first like 3 waves, I couldn't even get into them because of the board.
Yeah, see, so that there's a huge difference in the type of boards for the conditions. Like, I remember my buddy goes, "Hey, that board you made me, it's just not working good." I go, "What's wrong?" He goes, "Every time I'm back in the barrel, I see the opening, I'm about to come out." He goes, "I spin out, I slide out." I go, "Well, it's the Polypro board." He goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "That's what I was writing." I go, "No, the last board I made you was a Dow core, but I thinned it out, we stiffened it up to match what the Polypro board felt like and looked like. But it was a Dow core, so it had a different flex, a torsion flex. And we made him a board. Next thing he goes, "Fuck, I make every wave now."
What did you do?
I switched the cores. You know what I mean? So Polypro core's stiff to begin with.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a stringer, it'll crack, it'll break in half. So I'm just gonna give you an example. There's a Polypro, Polypro core. Polypro core.
Do you have more cores?
Yeah, yeah, that's just a piece. This is a Dow core.
Damn.
This is a Dow core. You can't break it.
This was polypropylene.
That's a Polypro core.
Yeah.
So performance, not quality. Quality before performance. So there's a difference. This is like a low profile tire with low mileage. This is like a BF Goodrich all-terrain tire.
There might be a rush of boards towards Dalcor.
Well, then you have to build them right.
Yeah.
That's what I went back to. I went back to all.
You have to build them right. If you build the board right, you're not going to be able to pick it up and tell what it is. If the board's right. Now the Polypro at one point is too light because the cores come in an 8-inch piece and they cut a bunch out of it. So the center ones are the not the good ones because it's not compressed foam in there, but the end ones are. And they make such a huge volume in manufacturing that when they have them, that's all we got. So there's no other way around it.
Yeah.
Nobody manufactures material for bodyboards.
No.
Zero.
Who are these companies that make these foam cores? Who are they making the cores for, or the foam for?
So we order in the US, we order this core, we call it a wave plank. They make this specifically for building bodyboard, right?
Okay. That company does.
Yeah, the polypropylene we get from another company. Before we bought it from them, they were making it, not for us.
So they already were.
It already existed. Yes.
And it looks like I've heard that they use it for cars.
car bumpers, you'll get it. Your stereos, when they come in a box, they might be packed in polypropylene, or it could be packed in styrofoam. You know,
Yeah.
polypropylene is a higher cost. It's more durable. But when you put them outside in the sun, the UV will break them down. So if I leave that polypro core out in the sun, next year it'll be turned to dust.
Well,
If I put the Dow core out there in the sun, next year it'll still be rubbery. It won't turn to dust. It might take 3 or 4 years for it to break down.
what was the reason why everybody went to polypropylene? Because Maury came out, it was all Dow.
So everyone probably went to polypropylene because it was lighter, it was stiffer. And at one time they stopped making our cell for us, and they stopped making Dow core.
Oh, damn. What year was that? Do you remember?
I don't remember the years.
Oh,
It was
I know.
it was in the 90s. And so because if you remember, BZ was making the first hub boards came out, they were like the Sub-Zero core, they were the polypro cores. Those are the first, I think they might have been the first boards BZ was making overseas, and they were doing a little bit here. But it was a different polypro. It was an extruded polypro, which is really good. But those boards are stiff, they reverse rocketed a lot. We had project boards made of those, remember?
Oh,
They
yeah.
were stiff.
Yeah.
They were horribly stiff. I never rode them. You
I
tried.
tried. I felt like
We all tried.
yeah.
The guys in Hawaii were taking them and on the handrail and tweaking the nose and giving them rocker, you know what I mean? So so the cores changed all those years. So yeah, the polypro, so what happened was the polypro got big. Mike Stewart started making polypro boards, BZ, Custom X. Then all of a sudden we couldn't buy it anymore. So then they were like, cool, we have the beaded polypro. We're like, okay, we'll use it. Well, it took another couple of years of bad boards.
Yeah.
Boards with delaminating. And then
Because they weren't heating together. They weren't
well, the laminate, the materials weren't able to laminate to the core. Polypropylene and polyethylene are two different foams. They will not stick to each other. So as soon as you laminated them, they would peel apart. Sometimes they look like they were stuck together. You put it out in the sun and the boards delaminate.
Damn.
There was tons of that.
Yeah.
Because people were getting their boards, their polypro boards, and being like babying them, never putting them in the sun. They'd have them in the car with a towel or a blanket on them.
Is that where Black Magic came?
Yeah, that was a layer they tried to put that on there, and it kind of worked, but it didn't work.
Because that layer of Black Magic foam was able to adhere to.
Yeah, so they stuck that to the core, and then the normal skin stuck to the Black Magic. But then that was like, man, you ran it through the laminator 4 times.
Oh, damn.
And then the board went this way from the heat, then it went that way from the heat, and then guys would be like, put the board in the back of their truck or their car, and they pull it out, and the thing's like reverse rocker. Remember that?
Yeah.
They'd be in the water trying to, and then later on it'd bubble up.
Damn.
And I was like, man, yeah, it was a really good solution, but it was so labor intense. You know, this is the most expensive machine in the shop. You want to turn that thing on the least as possible. Now the board goes through there 4 times,
Yeah.
you know, so and then times 100 boards,
And
400 times.
so that only happened when Black Magic was around. And then when did polypropylene come back and Dow come back?
Well, the Dow was always there. The polypropylene was always there. There was never any hiccup in the polypropylene supply because no one ever talked about it.
The Dow went away.
No, the Dow came back because the companies that were making the foam we buy, the tops, they go, cool, we'll just make the core. Then they send us the core at Custom X and be like, no, it's not working. Then they'll go, we'll make it different. Because at Custom X, we were right in the midst of them always, they were, here, try this. They'd make the core and we'd try it. Oh, it's not up to par. And especially that was before stringers came out. So the core had to be good.
Yeah. So Custom X was the one that was working with the Dow company. And if it wasn't for Custom X,
Yeah, if it wasn't for Custom X, it wouldn't have been a lot because BZ was owned by Sentinel. They had their own foam manufacturer.
Okay.
And the sales guys that work for the company we buy all the foam from, they were doing really good because every bodyboard company was at least spending $100,000 a year just in purchasing foam.
Yeah.
So these guys are making their commission all the way down to like when those guys got out of the business, the guy's daughter got into the business and she was coming to my house like every month before I opened up my shop.
Damn.
Because they were like, this is potential really to business. We need to get in.
Yeah.
Because Custom X had already run the rampant. They were just kind of like flatlined in production. And I was starting new. And they thought maybe it's going to be another commission on $100,000 a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? But that was those were cool times too when I first started JL, because frick, I was surfing every single day. Whenever there was swell, doing whatever I wanted, and I had all the options to make the boards whenever I wanted. Yeah, that was the best ever.
And now?
Now it's the same thing, except I'm older. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now I'm just like good for one air a session. That's about it.
At least you're in the water.
Yeah.
When's your so we talked about your boat, your fishing boat. When is that thing gonna be ready?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not working on it right now, so.
Okay. So
you know how a boat is.
yeah.
If
Oh yeah.
it busts out another 1,000,
Yeah.
and then another 1,000 hours.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, when I was looking for a boat, I needed the most maintenance-free thing. And what I got was pretty good. It's just an aluminum hull.
I had the same boat you had for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's freaking
Yeah.
awesome.
The Bay Runners, they're
Yeah.
good.
They're freaking
Except
awesome.
they leak.
They do leak, so I just bought another build.
Yeah.
So I'm just making sure those things are running clean before I actually take it in to find the leak. But for now, she's good.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Just get underneath it, start looking around. It's going to be corrosion spots, is what it's going to be.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, usually corrosion spots or cracks.
Yeah.
Because you surf a lot and you're always driving, you might crack.
Yeah.
A lot of times where the seats run across, where they're mounted on, a lot of the welds will crack right there. Then sometimes you'll get a corrosion spot where the weld cracks.
Okay.
5200 JB weld.
Yep.
My buddy just last season just did his whole entire boat, flipped it over,
Yeah.
found every little leak, grinded it, patched it.
And that's solid.
Yeah, like my aluminum at home right now, I have 2 holes in it. So I'm thinking about just putting a through hole with a scoop on it to put a bait tank there,
Oh,
a bait scoop.
yeah.
So I'll just drill a bigger hole and cap it with the scoop with a shutoff valve.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hey, shit.
You got to remember that. Don't be scared to drill holes in your boat if
Yeah.
you know how to fix them right.
Yeah.
Through hole fittings, shutoff valves.
Yeah. No, I saw the boat I got it had a bait tank on it,
Nice.
and I didn't need it. I should have freaking sold it to you or gave it to you.
No,
But I think I got
you took it off.
yeah, took it out because it was strictly just for surf.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But it adds for seating. Yeah, more seating now.
but on the side was the hole for the
Oh, you patched it?
yeah. Well, it had, I don't know what it had on it, but yeah, just patched it up and it was fine.
It still has
Still has a little
you just patched it up. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's perfect.
yeah, but it's been good. Well, shit. Thanks, dude.
Yeah,
Are you
cool.
done with work for today?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just saving some stuff for when you got
No,
here.
this was good. This was good. Like I said, I want to come back up here and if you freaking take us through a whole board, that would be epic.
Yeah.
'Cause I think these guys would love it. And girls. That's it, you guys. Thanks for hanging out here at JL Bodyboards again.
Thanks for coming by.
I will send you the link on how to get a hold of them if you want a custom board. I mean, this is it. In Southern California or worldwide, this is where you're gonna, and if you talk to them, like if you talk to Jimmy, if you're like, hey, I'm in freaking Barbados. I'm in warm water all the time. I drop knee and I'm a goofy foot. If you get super detailed like that, he's gonna hook it up. He's gonna line it up.
Move the cord. Yeah. So a lot of customers that get boards. I don't know if you guys can see it, but these are all templates
Oh my God.
from customers.
Here we go.
So this is the one that,
I'm gonna pull the camera up.
this was a Ben's board are made out of this template.
Oh, there we go. Where's it at? There we go.
Yeah, these are all templates.
So when somebody orders a board, you save their template?
Yeah, I'll save their template if I need be, yeah. So like, I don't know if you guys know Scotto from 10th Street, that's his template.
Nice.
Uh,
Because if
It's
the
a whole
board
bar.
works, then you can.
yeah, yeah, if the board works, you need to save the template, the measurements, the curve. It
Okay.
needs to be spot on.
Wait a second. What's that top template you just? This way.
Oh, this is Ben's template.
Oh, all right.
So the
How about-
BSD board.
I want you guys to see that one.
I don't know. The thing's been all over the world, I think, this thing.
Okay.
So here's, everything for, look at this, a Malig's.
What?
BZ Carl Maligro board.
No way.
And over the years I threw a bunch away, but I would never throw that away.
Heck no.
Alex Morel, it's my buddy Alex. Here's an old LMNOP. So
What?
I don't think I've made a copy. But
41.
somebody might show up one day and this was their template that they're gonna need.
That's so cool. And you have drawers of that.
Yeah, so I have 2 drawers full. I've probably thrown a lot away over the years. So there's
And these are cardboard. How come you don't use plywood?
this thing would be so heavy if I used plywood. And you know how much money it'd cost me if I used plywood? I'm a boogie boarder, not a rich kid.
All right. I think that's a perfect way to end this show because we're all bodyboarders. We do it for the love.
I got a Mixoplex in there.
Bullshit.
Yeah. The exact Mixoplex I copied probably from the original black and orange Mixoplex.
No way.
Yeah,
All right.
somewhere in there.
All right. If you find
I
it,
see it all the time.
shit, I think
Well, it's like one of the most iconic TNC boards because they didn't make a lot of them.
no.
And you like that board too, huh?
Yeah, that was a sick one. All right. If you find it, sweet. If you don't find it,
It's
no
in there
worries.
somewhere. I can find it.
When I put my order in,
We'll make you, if you want that, we can make you one.
oh shit, you got it?
Yeah.
All right.
I'll go through this thing 4 times looking for a template and I'll find it like the 5th time.
All right, Art, get in here. We're gonna sign off. Thank you guys for hanging out. Cheers, Jimmy. Cheers. Art.
Cheers.
Thanks for holding it down. And yeah, I really want to come back here and oh, I know you're freak.
Dude, I cannot see the screen.
But
But if I go to where you guys are,
There we
oh,
go.
you can see it perfectly.
go. yeah, we'll definitely come back up. And yeah, shit. Maybe we'll just have like a pizza party, breaking
Yeah.
shape boards.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we'll make you a board.
Thanks, Bella.
Yeah, make Manny a board.
Make Manny a board.
Yeah, that would
Jimmy.
no. Would it
I
be?
know I made him boards before.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
All right, you guys, thanks for hanging out and share this video with all your bodyboarding friends and yeah, get a little bit of history, lock it in because if we don't do this, then it'll get lost. All right.
Yeah, there's a lot of history.
Yeah,
We can go on and on and
we're
on.
gonna come back and
Yeah.
talk definitely more story. Peace, you guys. Cheers. Good choice on the Kona.
It's very
I went to